Hey guys, NJ here, back with some kind of final thoughts on the Diatone GT2 Crusader. All in all, I've got to say this has been a really great quadcopter, and I've been really impressed with not only the build, some of the clever design choices, but also how well it's dialed in and how well it's flown, and also how robust it's been. I mean, if you look at my last video, I'm sure a few of you have had a laugh at just how many times I managed to smash this into trees and various other objects, and it has come off with barely a mark on it. So yeah, it's been a real eye-opener for me, because whenever you get anything that's kind of RTF like this, and RTF always makes me, you know, nervous, having to just kind of trust that everything's been well soldered, and you know, I've always got this urge to pull it apart and just check everything's good. Everything's been solid, it really has. I've been very impressed with these motors that were built for Diatone by Sunny Sky. These are 2300 kV. Now originally I think they were 2450 kV, and I saw a few people complain when that suddenly changed to 2300 kV. I'll be completely honest, I think the 2300s are perfectly matched for this quadcopter and its weight, and I've chosen to go with these cyclone props, and I really enjoy these cyclone props at the minute. They're very much got the kind of the pros of a bull nose. They've got that nice kind of that nice fat blade, and plenty of grunt low down, and good throughout the range. But these kind of pointy, very curvy aerodynamic tips, instead of the square tips that you get on more traditional bullnose props, make well, they're not only quieter because they're slicing through the air without creating these huge vortexes that those square tips will create, but a nice side effect to that is, apart from being slightly quieter, is that the efficiency has gone back up. So these are a real nice all-round prop. I've been really happy with these, but these on these 2300 kV 2206 Diatone branded Sunny Sky motors have been an absolute winner for me. And you can, I think, again, if you look back at those videos, you'll see from the performance that it's an absolute rocket. Another thing that's worth pointing out, and you know I'm a bit of a stickler for motors and their construction and quality. These are absolute tanks. They've been, not only have they been robust, the bearings have held good. I mean, you see how many crashes, and I've had lots of flights with this. You know, I like to live with my quads for a bit before I give you any kind of review information on them. They are, I mean, listen to the bearings. Absolutely quiet as a mouse. They're still in great condition. There's absolutely no play in any of the motor shafts. They're super solid. Yeah, they get a big thumbs up. I think you can buy those individually, and I'm not sure if you can still, if you look around, whether you can find the unbranded Sunny Sky version of these. I certainly haven't managed to find them, but either way, in their own right, these motors are great. Very impressed with them. In terms of some of the things that I possibly would criticise and talk about changing, the plate that's under here, there's an aluminium plate, which is where the main sort of flight stack screws in from the other side into this, as opposed to sort of countersunk bolts. This frame, you can see I've added a little bit of grip here so that the battery stays nice and still. But the biggest problem with this is, you can see it's slightly proud, which it would have to be, but in a hard crash, you've got the battery at the bottom here, it's actually going to bend your battery. Now, I haven't had, you know, touch wood, any crashes like that, and I don't tend to crash that hard when I do. I seem to like hitting trees more and more these days. But if you were to come down very heavily on this, on the bottom of it, I could see this bending, you know, turning your battery into a banana. So that is probably something I would think needs a little bit of a redesign, maybe even to pull out a little further, just so that more of the battery is protected, rather than just this small central surface area, which will mean that the battery will buckle. So that's something that I will criticise. I did mention when I first had a look at this that the fact that because these arms are so thick, you know, they're 5.4 millimeters thick, they chose to kind of mill out the hole for the where the motor shaft, the motor shaft hole that you normally have in the middle here is milled out, but only as deep as it needs to be, and there's a couple of mil left which covers this up. I think that's been brilliant. And you can see here, I think I did actually have a slam into a load of mud. And I think that's great. Look, all that mud that would have gone straight into that bearing. I know it's a sealed bearing, stuff still gets in, trust me. It helps, makes bearings run rough. You know, they're just covered. Every 20 flights, I'll just pop these off and just put a drop in, as I always do with my motor bearings anyway. But I really like the fact that that's covered up, and that means that's nice and protected. No bad thing at all. You can see I've removed a couple of screws here, and this was just to show you one of the other features of this, which is that with that removed you can actually kind of hinge this up on the back of the frame, like you can see there, and of course it's then very easy to unplug and get to this cable on the 1177. Super useful when you want to start, you know, first time you get down the field and you want to, you know, set up your camera settings. I have had a fair few requests for my camera settings. I will at some point, when the weather's a little bit better and not quite so freezing, go through my camera settings with you. But yeah, this is really nice and easy to get to. You can see here, this is where I chose to just float the FR Sky XSR underneath. And I just put, again, a little bit of padding underneath that, just so that it kind of soft sits on top of the flight controller. Absolutely no problem there, plenty of room with it all sat down. And then, yeah, like I said, you peel that back and you've got the VTX flight controller underneath. If you were to order just the frame kit and not the RTF version, because I don't know if everyone knows this or not, the RTF version, the frame kit version will come with these side plates. It will come with a taller set, so that, because this is obviously 2 layers, you've got some combination boards here, VTX flight controller on top, and you've got the ESC PDB, not ESC, sorry, the PDB underneath, and OSD, sorry, that's what's sitting underneath. I think that's the right way around. So yeah, it's a very shallow build here, but if you buy just the frame kit on its own, that will come with the taller variant of these side plates, so that you can get a more traditional 3-stack under there. For me, I would have liked it if they just, because they do include spare side frames here, but I would have loved it if they could have squeezed in the taller ones, should I want to swap these out for a more traditional stack. But hey, you know, I like this frame so much I may end up getting another one and doing a build on that anyway. There's not much to say about these speed controllers. They do the job. I've got a feeling they seemed very similar to the DYS XS30s when I peeled back and had a little look at them. I'm not sure, I think they are a rebrand of some sort. But they're 30 amp, they handle the setup absolutely fine, no issues at all. The other thing I guess I could probably mention is I would like a little more angle here for the GoPro. You can see in super view, you'll see from my footage that the props are in shot and the top of the camera. You can, I guess, shim this up a little bit. I mean, you know, I'm complaining about something here for not having enough angle. I mean, you look at some of the frames that we run with just flat tops, and we get, you know, TPU mounts angled up so that they can, you know, take care of it all the time. You're just adding more and more weight. You know, really you only need like another 10 degrees on top of here, which is what I've started to do by layering up some padding, and you've got the problem solved. So it's not the biggest issue in the world. But yeah, all in all, I think this is a really great frame, and I've absolutely no hesitation in recommending it whatsoever. I will put the PIDs for this one in the description. I'll put a link to those, or actually I may just screenshot it after I finish talking about it so you can see where I ended up. But as I always say, and I will continue to say it to you, good people of YouTube, please, please, please start to learn how to tune your PIDs yourself. Do not think there is any kind of magic fix by copying my numbers onto this and then magically you will get the same flight performance that I do. I could build 10 of these in a row, or as you don't have to build this, I could receive 10 of these pre-made in a row, and every single one would require a different tune, have slightly different resonance, and that is then where you have to bring the tuning into its own and learn how to tune to get the best out of your quadcopter. If you want my best advice when it comes to where do you start with PIDs, I'll tell you now, this wasn't always the case, but it is now. Load up the defaults on Betaflight. I mean, when this comes shipped, I think When this came shipped, it came shipped with 3.01 of Betaflight, which is a great version of the firmware, and they had tweaked the numbers, and where the numbers were sensible. Now I have seen some pretty wacky numbers come with pre-build. Actually, my QX90, when that turned up, I remember looking at the numbers that were put in, and I remember seeing a yaw figure of a yaw P value of 230, which is probably a little over where I'd put it for tuning. I tuned it back to a very modest 8.4. So yeah, I mean, it's always worth checking these things anyway, but I will say the numbers that they had entered for this made me think that, yeah, they put some thought in. They made sense to the configuration of a Pure X. All throughout this whole build, you know, everything that's gone into this, even down to the tuning, there's been a thought process that they've cared about what they've put out. So as I said, I'll put a screenshot up, but to be honest with you, I would do exactly what I did. Start with the defaults. If the defaults don't fly well for you, reset to the standard Betaflight defaults, and then start tuning from there, one axis at a time. Take your time, and you'll get the results you want. Please don't think copying numbers off anyone, me or whoever. It doesn't matter. It will be different for everyone. If you happen to get it and it works for you, you know, congratulations, you've literally played the lottery that night, because your odds have just fallen in. But really, it's all down to actually learning to tune to get these quadcopters to all, you know, fly the way you want them to. Anyway, that about wraps it up for the GT2. Very impressed, highly recommended, and I shall see you guys in the next one.